Hello, everyone. We are right at the top of the hour, and so I just want to encourage you. I know I have my pen and paper next to me, so however you like to take notes, take this one moment to get yourself ready. I don't know if you need to pull up your notes app, but however you like to take notes, and we are going to just dive right in. Welcome to American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Madeline, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our always free offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker. Brienne Hennessy, founder of Your Vocal Vitality. I feel like it's not a good sign if I'm messing up on our speech.
It's
is
totally
a
good. Grace to self, grace to self.
is a highly sought after vocal empowerment guide, speaker, and author. For 17 years, she specializes in voice and how it connects to your well-being and self-worth. She has expertly guided executives, entrepreneurs, and speakers to communicate with more assertiveness, without strain, and listen to their intuition and show up as their truest selves. Brienne is a former speech voice pathologist with 14 years of clinical experience and 55 plus public speaking appearances. Her clients have succeeded in protecting the vital asset of their voice with increased stamina, ease, and improved communication confidence, with which has resulted in more captivating presence and profit for their business. All right, take it away.
Thank you so much, Manny. Delighted to be here. Thank you all for joining. I would like you to start by wherever you find yourself, seated or standing, just open to tuning into your breath. And I'd like to guide us through a brief breath practice. So whatever has come before now, let that go. And whatever's coming after now, let that go. Choose to be here now. If it's safe to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. This may be the first opportunity you've had to pause in your day. I'd like you to tune in to the breath, the inhale, low and slow, and the exhale, long and gentle. Notice where you can soften, perhaps at the forehead, the jaw, the shoulders, the hips, the thighs, the feet, and the toes. As your breath begins to slow, ask any mind chatter or disruptive thoughts to step aside. You'll get back to those in a little bit. Notice the breath. Notice the quality and the ease as you soften through your body. Breathing in on your own time, full inhale, low and slow. And on this exhale, you can add a shh sound if you so choose to extend it longer than that inhale and really allow that calming, relaxed presence to settle in. Now, I would like you to turn your attention to your heart space. You are going to create an intention for your time today. So staying with your breath, tuning into that space within the heart, I want you to ask yourself, what is my intention for this time today? Honor whatever word, phrase, or image may arise. And when it does so, I want you to breathe into that. And if you so choose, if it's available to you, I would love for you to repeat it to yourself, ideally out loud, but if internal feels more comfortable, that works as well. Sealing that in, breathing fully again, and when you are ready, opening your eyes. Welcome. On a piece of paper or your notes app, I would like you to write down one thing that you love about your voice. If there is something, go ahead and take the next 15 seconds or so to do it. If you're not sure, that's okay. You can write, I don't know, or I've never thought about it before, or I'm open to possibility. So I'll give you the next 10 seconds or so. If you're someone who speaks for a living, to lead, to influence, to educate, then I'd like you to consider today that public speaking is more than just preparing for the meetings, the presentations, and envisioning how you want to feel on stages or in boardrooms, how you're going to convey your message to the listener. To me, the most vital and important piece is your voice. Have you ever lost your voice for any reason, even just for a short time period? Or maybe you've lost your voice and it happens a lot, like multiple times a year or for longer time periods. Think back to that moment. What were you able to do? Could you take off work? Could you not and you had to push through? Were you able to delegate? Did it stress you out in any way? Have you ever been misunderstood because of the sound of your voice, the tone of your voice, or felt frustrated when communication breaks down because that's not really what I meant to say or how I meant to say it? Do you know someone who's been ridiculed because of how they sound? Too shrill, too brash, too loud, too high, too angry. Or maybe they have struggled to be heard or felt weak because of how their voice sounds. Or perhaps you hear your own voice and you think this, or maybe even immediate self judgment. By the way, if you're a Schitt's Creek fan, I want you to drop an "Ew, David" in the chat. That is one of my most favorite shows, so I got to see where my fans are at. So, can any of you relate to any one or more of those moments? Today, I am daring you to know your voice. What does that even mean? If you can look at your voice beyond just the figurative voice that you use, most people think that's how they're going to convey their message. But my mission is to elevate women's self worth through this vehicle of voice in our neck so that you can honor both the health of the physical sound that you make and listen from within to that intuition, the inner voice. So there might be many reasons that brought you here today. It might be you, it might be someone you know who has been curious about their voice, but these are just a few examples of what people have shared with me as to why it's important for them to do something about their voice and how it functions. So, why am I here? Well, this used to be my day job. I spent 14 years as a speech and voice pathologist in some of the best voice clinics across the country. And here I am using one of my favorite tools. It is a scope that we use to look at the actual vocal folds themselves. And so this is something that has taken me through thousands of voices, assessing, rehabilitating those who have already experienced injury to their voice. And I think for me, when it became apparent that I wanted to be on the preventative side, I wanted to really share with those who would come in and say, why is this happening to me now? I decided to pave my own path and focus on the more proactive side and the ability to heal ourselves with our voice. And so in September 2020, I took that leap and left the voice clinic to start my business. And I'm so grateful that I have followed my dream. So let's get curious about your voice. If you've, again, never thought of it before today, today's the day. So what I'd like you to do is place your hand right here on your neck. Yes, this is your larynx, your voice box, that firm structure right here. If you place your hand right in the front of it, okay, you're going to feel that firmness in the front and along the sides. And this is your precious instrument. The vocal folds actually themselves sit right behind your Adam's apple. So your Adam's apple is the little notch right up here. It tends to be more prominent in men than women. But when you swallow, it'll bob up and down. It's supposed to do that. Now, I want you to feel the sensation as you're making sound. So again, if it's available to you, I encourage you to just make some sound. You can count 1, 2, 3. You can do a little relaxing sigh. You can When you do that, do you feel the vibrations on your fingers? That is the sound waves vibrating into space. Now, when I was working as a speech and voice pathologist for those 14 years, a lot of times people would come in with questions like, why does my voice shake nervously when I'm going to get ready to speak in front of people? Why do I get raspy after talking all day or all week? Why do people tell me or chastise me for the tone of my voice? Why is this issue happening to me now? I know how to talk. I've been doing it for years. Indeed. But just as that basketball player would go out and prepare and condition and train to run up and down the court, they are a peak performance athlete and are doing the steps to make sure that that is maintained. Vocal athletes also benefit from preparation and training and practice. And so you can enhance the clarity, the stamina, the function, especially when you are required to speak extensively. So if your voice is your livelihood, you are a vocal athlete. Now, what I've always found curious about that is when a basketball player sprains their ankle and has to go to physical therapy, they aren't ignored or made to feel like it's their fault. Nope, they are supported. The PT comes in, and there's an understanding that they'll heal and get back better than ever. Yet, when a speaker has a voice injury or is struggling to be heard, it's often seen as taboo to share that something's going wrong, or they're made to feel as if they should have known better, or that just resting it and being silent will fix it. Those basketball players don't just rest their sprained ankle. They use gentle yet targeted exercises to regain mobility, and it's similar with how your voice works as well. So, this is for the speaker who wants their voice at peak performance, needs to withstand all day educating, keynotes, workshops, networking chats, meetings, happy hours, and even having enough time to read a book to the kids at bedtime. This is for the entrepreneur who wants to be more visible but holds back their voice and feels like they have to push or strain just to be heard. And this is for the women leaders who want to be taken seriously by their teams without falling into the trap of lowering their voice pitch to sound more authoritative. It doesn't match. So when you show up and when you trust yourself and to speak your message to the world, you're going to do that with more ease and influence. That happens when you harness the natural and vibrant power of your voice, and it's already within you. This is merely meant to activate and ignite what can come out of that sound you make so that the sound matches the words and that can align to your beliefs and your intentions. And that clear, radiant sound increases your confidence so you can speak out your dream. Now, when you consider what's on the other side, if you don't do anything about it, or if you know someone who is coming to mind right now and you think, gosh, I do wonder about how their voice is feeling to them. These are some of the things that my clients have said to me that they did not want to continue experiencing. They didn't want to be tired by the end of the week with their voice fading. They didn't want that it was impacting how they were able to convey their message and be visible so that they would run their business in even more larger ways. They knew that the issues they had to speak about, no matter the audience, needed to be talked about, and they didn't want to feel like they were holding back. So these are just some examples. But there are times that when the voice falters, that asset in your neck isn't invincible, right? It's going to have its moments. And so when that happens, whether it's a cold, a laryngitis, stress before a public speaking event, you can either push through or prioritize. One will drain you and one will energize you. So it's important to discern when you're pushing through, when you're prioritizing, and adjust accordingly because longevity matters. You are going to have voice changes as you age. That happens to all of us. But you also want to be ready for that impromptu podcast recording or batch recording all of your content or making sure that you're ready for your event instead of frantically calling me hours before saying, Brienne, my voice is giving me trouble. What do I do? Now, when folks do that, I have ways to work with them that make sure that they do continue into their event and what they need to accomplish. But it's stressful for them. Yeah, they don't need to be worrying about that. So, what can we do to prevent that as much as possible? So, for your work, you need to speak. Obvious, absolutely. But when your voice isn't functioning optimally as business owners and entrepreneurs, we maybe have some flexibility in our schedule depending on our roles. And yet we might have sales calls that we have to take all day. We're leading clients through trainings and meetings. We are networking with potential partners. So, can we afford to not have this asset working at its peak performance in a reliable and clear way? When the voice is functioning optimally and it's creating these sound vibrations, it's this wave of energy that just fills the space. And so, what I find very cool about this instrument is that vocal folds vibrate merely by air passing through them. They're pulsing, they're colliding hundreds and hundreds of times a second when we speak. And the interesting thing about that is that turns it into sound energy, these waves that travel through the spaces of our head and neck. So the vocal folds are vibrating at this high rate of speed, hundreds of times a second. If I were to do that with my hands, pretending that these are vocal folds vibrating 100 times more than this, that would create blisters and achiness and soreness throughout my skin. But this amazing, sophisticated instrument is able to withstand that when it's cared for properly. Now, you are about to see actual vocal folds, just forewarning. So, for any of you who are not fans of anatomy or you get squeamish, this is your cue to just look away briefly. But it's a really cool view, so just putting it out there. All right, so here's what typical vocal folds look like. Now, we're looking at this from a bird's eye view. When you saw that picture of me scoping, the scope is looking down into that larynx. So the vocal folds are these white structures here, okay? Down the hatch is your windpipe, your trachea. So the bottom of the screen is actually towards the front where you were feeling your Adam's apple right there. The top of the screen is actually towards the back. So they're open while we breathe and they sit in this configuration. Now, as we breathe, check yourself. Hi, breath holders, I see you. You are moving air through that space. But as we bring the vocal folds together to start making sound, they're going to not only be together from the muscular activation, but then also the air flowing through them. You can see these are vocal folds in vibration. So as I was describing them coming together hundreds of times a second, that is what's happening right now. They should look wavy and pliable and be very loose. There shouldn't be any stiffness, any huge lumps or bumps or issues going on. And so when we look in this way, we can see them vibrating at high rates and at the same time honoring how are they functioning as a whole unit, not just in the larynx, but also throughout the head and neck. So in this way, you can look at vocal folds, yes, at any point, going to see that assessment done. And at the same time, there might be moments where you know something is off, even just by how it feels. So fun fact, you guys know me really well now because these are my vocal folds. You're welcome. You did it. Everybody okay? Wonderful. All right, so in this, I talk about anatomy because it is one of the things I love. And I think it's important that we know an instrument that lives in the dark all day versus the guitarist or the trumpeter who can take their instrument apart. We don't have that luxury. So when we can know it on a deeper level, that is hugely important. And yet, when I'm guiding my clients to keep their voice healthy, we also have to understand that we can't always know through naked eye looking what is actually happening underneath the surface, but we can feel it. Voice is a vibrational energy. How it feels to speak with that clear, powerful, stronger sound, how you speak to yourself, and how that impacts the way you feel. How it feels to the listener as the energy is rippling out to them. So as I mentioned, your voice will give you clues. There may be times that you notice little quirky things happening. Maybe it's around the time that you had a cold. Maybe it's unrelated to any other cold or laryngitis symptoms. But when you pay attention, it allows you to stay proactive. So you're not just kind of hobbling along and waiting, hoping it'll get better. So just as those athletes learn to prevent and care and condition their bodies so they can take care of them in the best way possible, you can do the same for your voice. If things do start to struggle, there are evidence and experience-based protocols that can be very effective. So again, those speakers who end up in my DMs and are frantic because they have an engagement and their voice is not functioning the way it needs to, this is something I developed so that not only if they need my support, great, But if they need to lead themselves through that triage and just get through those couple days, they are able to do that. And so, in this way, while it is a short term band aid, it does give them that little cushion to make sure that they're not doing more injurious damage while they're speaking through their events, through their weeks. The long term plan is to be more proactive with that. So if you know that you can have ways to keep your voice in shape, it puts you ahead of the competition. It keeps you on top of what you need to do, when you need to delegate it, and how that can all come together as a preventative mode for your well being. So when it comes to feeling more confident in your voice, I believe a strong and compelling presence comes from within. And the holistic approach I take considers not just the voice and the breath, like you were seeing there, but also the body, the movements, the mind, the consciousness, and your intuition. So if we put all that together, what happens when there's internal conflict? How you feel about how you sound can be reflected in your voice energy. If you are someone who's running a constant stream of self criticism, I see you. That takes a toll. I've been you. That can really chip away at the confidence and infuse the message in ways we didn't intend. If you are someone who finds that you tend to be a people pleaser, or you are still deconditioning from any harmful narratives that especially tend to be true for women in our society, there are also negative biases that have been research based to judge or shift or change how people are perceived based on the sound of their voice. So when we put these things together, we have to be mindful that this can cause dissonance. Dissonance, that disconnect, like something is off. You may not always be able to kind of put your finger on it, but something is awry. And so, in this way, that can also affect the physical mechanism. Now, I see these come out in a lot of different ways. For some people, it is that self criticism. For others, it's they don't really like it when they are complimented about something they did well or how they conveyed their message eagerly. They end up still dismissing it, judging it, not even giving themselves props for it. All of that internal turmoil can start to build up. And a lot of times that can increase stress and frustration. And so, as that starts to happen, that can ripple out in ways that are not expected. Now, this is not for everyone. For some people, stress and frustration shows up as stomach ulcers or as migraines. But for others of you, it's in your voice. That becomes the barometer that is telling you that there is something that needs to be addressed and healed before it becomes a chronic issue. I also find that dissonance continues when there's a mismatch in what you said and what you meant. And these tend to be some of the underlying factors that go into that. And so when I work with people, they talk about this feeling of it feeling stuck, or like there's a lump in my throat and I just can't get rid of it. Or why do I feel like I'm pushing when I talk? I'm not trying to yell, but people tell me I'm yelling. All of these different physical manifestations. And that can be really frustrating when you're trying to share your message and your dream, and meanwhile, very distracted by these persistent sensations. So, what do we do and want instead? Resonance. There are beliefs that are underlying what you're saying. We all have them. The emotion that you fuel the sound with. And then, of course, the physical sound energy, those sound waves, like you experienced, they all can come together and align to create this optimal resonance. And so, when you are releasing stress, and whether it be emotional or physical, through your sound, when you're listening to your intuition and creating the intention, you can relieve that pressure. You can enhance the vocal clarity and sound more natural while also feeling really comfortable like, this is me. This is how I'm meant to speak. So, speaking in this more embodied way, I believe shows up as that confidence and captivating presence because you are knowing your voice deeply. Now, imagine the potency of your words when you care for it, keeping it healthy, you're creating your intention, and then you speak from that intuitive, resonant place. You've literally shifted the vibrational energy through your sound, and that can alter the outcome from scratchy to smooth, from hidden to heard. from disconnected to embodied. So when these transformations happen during this work together, I tend to see that people end up gaining a lot more than what they came in kind of expecting or needing just in the moment, because they go from that quick fix mentality to long-term care and prevention. Now, of course, the additional factor that comes into this that I've alluded to, how do you speak to you? Be honest with yourself. Is there that mind chatter? And when it is getting really loud, what do you do? What about when you hear your voice on recording? Do you recoil? If you feel comfortable, write it in the chat. Do you like your voice? Do you dislike your voice? Are you neutral about your voice? Do you believe that you can speak more lovingly to yourself? And if so, what would that mean for you? Or do you truly have an "you, David" moment with yourself? As you reflect on this, I ask you, how can you hate the very instrument that you use to share your message and your dream with the world? When people say that to me and they use the word hate, that is extremely heartbreaking. It tells me that there's a lot of underlying stressors and suffering that's going on, and their voice is just yearning to release that. So it's important to look at these underlying beliefs, the ways that we speak to ourselves, and know that that is transmitted through the vibrations of our sound and our energy, even if we didn't fully realize it. If you're trying to lead or help someone, yet internally not liking how you sound, that's felt in some way, shape, or form. There's that disconnect, that dissonance within. Maybe again, the listener's not quite sure, but something just doesn't feel quite right. So, what's possible when you choose to like or even love your voice? That's a very different way to show up. You become much more resonant in how you're expressing yourself, which in turn is felt as more positive to the listener. As anything comes up for you with this, invite you to be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. This can be more of a mirror that you're putting up to yourself than maybe you've ever tried to do before. It helps to hydrate too. Your voice is beautiful. You are worthy to be heard. And the moment you choose to love your voice is the moment you choose to love yourself in a new way. Just as I love my body, I want to keep it healthy. I have goals to improve its performance? That goes for my voice as well. I'm not immune. I get that all the time. Brienne, you must never get laryngitis or lose your voice. No. There are colds and things that go around, but I definitely take the steps more proactively. So that is just a blip in the day, the year, the moment. It's important as you integrate all of this that it can be something that you start to do in little habits each and every day. I feel like the journey tends to be much more pleasurable when you come at it with less self-criticism and more self-love. That can take time though, and that's part of the work in this process, so that your physical voice does become a catalyst for speaking your dream and your way of being into life. When this does happen with clients, they get really excited about it. I love when they share their wins with me, and out of the blue, it'll feel like they have gone from criticizing themselves. Emmy is a nutritionist and a health coach, and she felt so fatigued after 20 minutes of her live streams, which is how she connected with her audience, that she just stopped doing it. That impacted her visibility. She wasn't really showing up as much anymore. And as we started to work together, she started to practice these voice adjustments, both in exercises and listening from within. And when she sent me this text, Brienne, I am actually enjoying listening to my nutrition presentation. I used to hate listening to myself, but I love my voice now. And this presentation was so much more engaging with your reminder that I know what I'm talking about and just need some small cues. So this always brings so much joy because it's those little moments where something shifts and everything changes. Also, gifts and memes are my love language. If you know me, you know that well. So if we work together, you know that that will happen. GIFs and memes. I speak GIF. This is how it works. Now, when I look at this holistically, as I mentioned, it's not just the instrument in your neck. We have to look at healing by harnessing the power of the voice and the mind and the body so that you have this side effect of this resonant, aligned way of speaking. That comes from your way of being, not just getting up and doing like a power pose in the mirror in the morning. For those of you who like power poses, no shade. It just tends to be, I find, very surface versus layering into the depth of what's possible when you know your voice more intimately. So, what would be possible if you felt more clarity and ease and connection with speaking? What would be possible if you became so intimate with your voice that you knew you were tapping into another well of wisdom? You would speak more assertively, you would speak more lovingly to yourself, and you would trust yourself more. So, these three keys that we have gone over today are being aware of your physical voice. The easiest way to do that, play with your voice on a daily basis. It might be as simple as you using just a gentle hum, and it's available to you, and you want to, even if people are around, I encourage you to do it with me. You can hum, and there's lots of different sounds that you can make, but just knowing that you're doing that to connect with your voice is important. Now, if you're really curious to know, ooh, is that coming out the way I expect it to? Try to use your hum only from pushing and pressurizing in the throat. Mm, can you hear the difference? Everything is stopped and restricted here. That's where you can learn to shift it out of that pressurized space and into this resonant space around and in front of you. So that is so fun and easy to play with, especially in the shower. Great place to do voice warm-ups. So the warm-ups can be mind, body, and breath and voice. I put all of those together with folks because it's not just in isolation. The second key to knowing your voice that we talked about is listening to your intuition. Listening by creating that intention every morning. You might say, how do I do that? You already did that today during our opening breath practice. So using that simple tool each and every morning can shift the outcome. And the final key is loving your voice. Can you be grateful for one aspect even at this point in time, even if you have goals to continue to improve and expand on it? In this, I believe there will be improved communication, more connection and confidence, and that power that naturally lives within you when it's expressed and not repressed. So I'd like you to return to that question that I asked you at the beginning of our time today. What is one thing that you love about your voice? And just notice, did anything change? If it didn't, that's okay. You're going to meet yourself right where you are. If it did, I'd like you to go ahead and write that additional observation down now. You have ignited and activated this incredible gift within yourself. And I look forward to holding space for your voice, to refining it and hearing it and expressed in so many ways. So I want to take this moment to give my immense gratitude to Madeline and the DreamBank team. This is a huge undertaking for them, and they are so, so gracious with their time. And a huge thank you to all of you for your attention, because this was a stretch for many of you, I imagine. And at the same time, because I didn't get a chance to hear each of your unique voices, there is a link in the chat or my email here. Feel free to reach out. I am offering each of you a complimentary 30 minutes with me. I can hear certain things about your voice, help you craft your goals, and see what's possible beyond what you might have thought before. So remember, as you go through your day and your week, you and your voice are worthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have never actually paid that much attention to my voice, but it definitely is always an indicator when I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
And so I definitely am going to spend a little more care with the tool that I use to communicate the most to the world. So I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for learning alongside of me today. Until next time, friends, this was truly wonderful. Bye.
Bye.